The Union Roundtable versus Victor. Who will come out on top? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with more Undead Unluck, specifically episode 9. And that means we are just 1 week closer to taking our break. As I mentioned last time, we're going to be taking a break from this series just to avoid even the possibility of burnout. And we're going to take it after this arc ends. We found out the arc ends after episode 10, which is just a good point anyway. Good stopping point. And so we'll be taking a break and then coming right back to this after we get to another show in the meantime. So, yeah. That's going to happen starting next week then. But for now, well, after next week's episode. For now, we have the battle resuming. So, we've already defeated Spoil. Spoil is done and defeated thanks to Victor. And Victor is apparently another being within Andy's body. Like, I don't know if it's exactly a dissociative identity disorder kind of situation, or if it's more along the lines of the I forgot the word. It's a new power system, okay? I'm still trying to get it down. But the the rule, I guess you could say, like within his power is like sentient and manifesting this way. But Victor says he's human too, right? So that kind of makes me think it has to be just another personality. And you always kind of wonder in these situations who the original personality is. It was very much a thing that was part of Moon Knight, for example, the MCU series. Is Stephen Grant the original? Is Mark the original? Which one's the original? And that's part of the mystery and fun of the series. But with this, it's like, it's hard to tell like what they're going for here. But I'm very excited to find out. This was all the plan to get rid of Spoil, though. He took out the thing in his head, and they're calling it a card. And it caused him to unleash kind of his full power, which caused Victor to come out. And Andy to be kind of trapped inside. And so Shen tries to fight him and everything to get him under control and whatnot. Does not work. Shen is bodied pretty notably. And so now the entire rest of the round table have come along. And it's going to be interesting to see these fights go down, as much of whatever we see ends up happening. And I'm curious as to how this is going to go. I'm curious to see what everyone else can do and how they end up stopping him. I assume they just probably got to put the card back in his head, right? I assume it's probably that simple. But that's going to be very difficult to do because Victor has a very, very improved upon use of his abilities. He doesn't have the limits that Andy has. He can regenerate from any part of the body, presumably even a single drop of blood. It's just like he's just so much more powerful. And that's kind of scary when you think about it. Because what exactly does that mean? There's a lot of questions that this raises, this entire situation. And I assume we're going to get answers, of course. It's just a matter of, like, will we get them right away? Or is this something that Andy will actually hide for now? I'm very curious, but this is going to be really good. I can tell that much. These fights are going to be great. This information, as we get it, is going to be great. So, at this point, it's just a matter of seeing where it goes. But this isn't the only show with something cool happening in it on the channel currently. We are reacting to a bunch of different shows right now. 2 shows every day for each of the weekdays, Monday through Friday. We also do YouTube reactions on Mondays, and on Wednesdays we have been recently streaming through Momodora Moonlit Farewell, but we just actually finished that yesterday. I just haven't changed the banner here yet. And we'll be moving on to Spider-Man 2 moving forward. Though that might not be exclusively on Wednesdays. It might be like I record it on Wednesdays and be like uploaded various days of the week. I've still got to figure that out, how it's going to end up working. We'll get to that when we get to that. But we also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. They're recorded during the week, but I post them on the weekends. And various other videos show up every now and again as well, such as AMVs and countdown lists and so on and so forth. So look forward to those as they come. But for the meantime, we're going to get on with today's reaction and see where it goes. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, interestingly, there's one more episode still, despite it seeming like it's resolved this episode. With the help of the round table, Fuko manages to get through to Andy, and she is able to bring him back in time to get the card back into his head and everything, after giving him a massive stroke of unlock. The biggest we've seen yet. And yeah, it all kind of works out. We get to see some of the powers, some of the abilities of the other roundtable members. Like, Top is very fast. He's also 15 years old, which, yeah, that tracks. He looks like he's about 15. And we don't really know the full scope of his power, but he doesn't seem to stop running a lot of the times, or at least he wasn't during the battle. So I'm wondering exactly what his ability is and what it entails and everything. We see that using a UMA, Ruiz, I think it is able to set her sword on fire. Otherwise, she seems mostly just like a swordswoman. We have not seen what her negator ability is yet at all. We see some of the others. One of them is like this kid looking person who fights using cybernetic enhancements that seem to be like UMAs and stuff, and artifacts grafted into his body, which is interesting. Another one is using different like these orb artifacts and stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on that we don't really get any clarification on yet, but we just kind of get to see in action pretty early here. Excuse me. The battle against Victor mostly seems to go well. I mean, he's holding them off pretty easily, but they're also holding him off pretty easily. After we see Fuko go back in and press her tits to him, we then see like she has to try and figure a way to bring Andy back. And so she shoots a hole into his head, the scar on his head, digs her fingers in, and tries to like call out to Andy to get him to, to reach out to her with the promise of the biggest stroke of unluck he's seen. And it works. It brings out enough of him just for a short enough amount of time that the unluck is able to take effect. And it's made even more powerful with the fact that he goes straight in for a full lip to lip passionate kiss. Like it's not even like a peck on the lips or anything. It is full passion. And you absolutely fucking know that Fuko like was so happy about that. One, because it's very, very fucking obvious she loves him. Like that's not even like subtle. But also it's her first kiss because of her unluck. And that's important to her. Getting to be able to even have a first kiss. That's why she didn't like struggle or anything, and she fully returned it to him. She was kissing him too, because that was a big deal for her, getting to just experience that. Also, she did obviously know it would absolutely work. It would absolutely be what she needed there. And yeah, it brought on a full ass meteor shower. It's like not just one meteor, a full ass shower. It's like that's definitely the biggest stroke of unluck we've seen so far. And though she was bashful about it after, and though she denies that they're lovebirds and everything, it's so blatantly obvious they love each other. Like, listen, I've seen a lot of anime. I've seen a lot of shows in general. Animation, live action, doesn't matter. I've seen a lot. And I've seen a lot of content where it's super obvious when characters are going to get together, when it's super obvious that they have feelings for each other. This is one of, I think, the most blatant with it that I've seen in a long time, at least. It's like so like in your face about it. And it comes across kind of similar to, ironically enough, one of those shoujo mangas that Fuko enjoys so much and that Andy finds he actually enjoys more than he would have thought. It's kind of like a lot of those that you see, those romantic comedy stories where it's like, will they, won't they? But of course they obviously will, because it's just blatant. The entire story is literally about them getting together. And you very much get to see that in this too. Fuko and Andy are very much endgame, and that's like not even hidden. It's just blatantly obvious. It's kind of the goal of the show that they're supposed to be endgame. And it's just a matter of getting there. But it's like when they make it this like in your face about how much they clearly love each other, that everybody else around them can see it. It can come off sometimes as being a little hard to watch. It's like, oh, I'm watching this romantic comedy and these characters are so clearly going to end up together. Why do I have to sit here and watch them stumble around for 50 plus episodes to get to that point? And it's like, there's a lot of shows like that, and manga that they come from and everything, where it's like, yeah, you have to watch for a bunch of episodes, seasons upon seasons, or just, if it's not a seasonal show, just a lot of content to get to them finally even just admitting that they like each other. And it's a trope. It's absolutely a trope in that kind of manga and anime. And I've seen some shows completely go against the trope, completely subvert your expectations with it. One of the big examples that I would always give is Ori Monogatari, also known in English as My Love Story. It's a fantastic series if you haven't checked it out. Um, of this like giant of a man who is so sweet and sensitive and just wholesome as fuck, yet he's so intimidatingly massive. And his girlfriend, who is this tiny little baker of a girl who is like so also sweet and wholesome and innocent. And they have like the cutest fucking relationship ever. It is so fucking adorable. And they get together almost right away in the series. It happens like super quick. And the series isn't about them trying to get together because they already accomplished that. It's about them like navigating their relationship and learning to be with each other. And it's just a super cute, wholesome series that I just really enjoy. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely, again, suggest checking it out. But that subverts the trope of the will they, won't they in a kind of romantic story. This subverts the trope with the kind of story it is. Because Undead Unluck is not the kind of story you usually see that in. The closest I think I could come up with off the top of my head that does this kind of thing is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood with Ed and Winry. Or, I guess, the original Full Metal Alchemist as well. But I tend to just think about Brotherhood as just the quintessential Full Metal Alchemist, because it is. But yeah, Ed and Winry and that kind of have that entire thing going on. It's obvious they're going to get together, but they still kind of play around with it until later in the series. When it's there's a point where Winry actually directly says that she fell for Ed. And she kind of says it under her breath too, and it's like, I can't believe I fell for someone like you. It's just, it's a cute little moment that really confirms that the ship is happening. But it's a series that you wouldn't expect that kind of thing necessarily to be in with how the rest of the series is. And that's the closest thing I could think of with this. Because this is an action, adventure, superpower based show. It's not a romance series, but it also is a romance series. That is a core concept of the series, and it doesn't really work as well without it. Fuko and Andy's relationship is integral to this story. And yeah, again, it's very obvious, but because of the fact that this is this kind of series, it distracts you, I guess you could say, from the will they, won't they irritation. Because everything else is so exciting and interesting and intense. And again, it's like with a lot of those kind of shows, it's just so blatantly obvious they will. It's not really a will they, won't they, because it's obvious they will. It's just a matter of time. And I also want to point out, I don't know if I've pointed this out before, so I want to point it out here, that this series is a shining example, I would say, of what I have talked about in the past, especially in the Fire Force reactions, of how to do fan service right. Because I've talked about in the Fire Force reactions how fan service can be done well to a point where it actually serves the story, makes sense, and or is, tasteful, for lack of a better word. But it can also be done in a way to where it takes away from the story and comes across as needless, sexual for the sake of sexualization rather than any actual intent. and it can actually hurt a character's entire development and stuff. And I talked about this with Fire Force because of Tamaki. Tamaki's entire character is destroyed every time her Lucky Letcher lore comes into play, because it absolutely reverses every single bit of character development she ever gets, and it's so poorly done. It's fan service for the sake of fan service. And it's especially wild because the series does have fan service that is done right in it, such as fan service you see at times with Maki or Iris. So it's like, it's wild that it can do fan service right, but the creator chose to add in this shit with Tamaki that just destroys it. One Piece also does this. One Piece has moments where the fan service makes sense and is logical and is believable and serves the story. But then you have some of the fan service that is just very clearly there for the sake of fan service. Yeah, even One Piece, my favorite piece of media of all time, is not immune to that. I acknowledge One Piece's flaws. um, but you see that in this series, it's like there's notable shots at points of Fuko's tits. Whether it's when they're pressing against Andy, or like when her like top is lifted up and you see her in the oh my god, my mind is blanking. The sports bra. And like there's the point in this episode where you saw like the tie going right between her tits and being hugged into her cleavage like that, and stuff like that. And you see quite a bit of that in this series. And it's not shy about it, but it's never done in an overly aggressive way. Every time there is fan service, it actively serves the plot and the character's character and story. And it makes sense for what's going on, especially for Fuko's character, who, let's be honest, is so severely touch starved. And like this is a thing that a lot of people may not understand, but sometimes, and this is going to sound fucking weird the way I'm about to word this, but sometimes you need to have someone touch you. And I'm not talking in like any kind of weird fucking way, but there are some times where a person, and it's not the same for every person, of course, but requires physical contact. It can be something as simple as a high five, a handshake, having someone put their hand on your shoulder. Head pats is a big thing with anime, so let's include that. But you get the idea. And this is a very common love language. Physical touch is a common part of the love languages. And the reason for it is a lot of times physical touch can make someone feel comforted. It can make them feel safe and secure. And for Fuko, this is a young woman who has not been able to feel this because of her abilities, because of unluck. People can't touch her. She has had to live her entire life pretty much avoiding having physical contact with people, because it could, and in some cases has, killed people. Do you understand how fucking lonely that would feel? Like, she's mentioned in this series, and it's pretty just obvious that she yearns for connection. That she is so, like, deprived of that physical connection. And that doesn't just mean holding hands. It doesn't even just mean, like, something like a kiss, like in this episode. It does mean sexual stuff, too. This is a young woman. She's 18. Of course she's had these feelings. You don't think she's had these feelings? Like, everyone, unless they're asexual, has these feelings. She's absolutely felt that. But the pain of knowing she can't touch someone and that someone can't touch her in that way, that's why she's so quick to latch on to him like this. She does it without any hesitation or any complaints or anything. She's not even embarrassed by it. She doesn't get embarrassed until the kiss happens. I mean, she had been embarrassed in previous episodes because of this, but she's she's starting to realize her love for him, and the feeling of being able to touch someone because she knows he'll be able to survive whatever happens in that way is probably like this amazing feeling for her. It probably feels so good just to be able to do that. And again, it's presented in a very fan servicey way. Like, it makes a point of focusing on, like, shots of her tits, like, pressing and bouncing against him. It's very blatantly fan service. But it's done in a way that serves the story and the characters to such a well-handled degree that it's astounding. It's some of the best fan service I've seen. Like, genuinely. Like, it's so connected to the plot and the character work that it just, in every way, needs to be there. It wouldn't really make sense if it weren't. And that's astounding to me. And, like, it's not even about, like, the sex appeal of the fan service, like a lot of fan service tends to focus on. Again, it's about the story of it, how it connects to these characters, what it means for these characters. That's how you do fan service. It can still be appealing, it can still be sexy, but it has a point. And it narratively and visually works because of that. And I love that. I just love that shit. More shows, more manga, I guess, as well, need to take notes here on how to do this. And obviously not copy it exactly, but just the ideas in place here. And it doesn't necessarily have to be this this heavily tied in. Like, yeah, you can do a lot of it still for the sexualized factor to a degree, because it's hot and everything. You just have to, again, handle it right. You have to figure out a way that makes it work, that doesn't make it just feel like pointless, needless sexualization for no purpose. It's doable. That's what I'm saying. And I'm sorry that I'm ranting so long about this stuff, but I'm kind of, like, impressed and excited that this show is doing this well. It's astounding. And again, I wish more anime did this instead of, just throwing in bad fan service for the sake of fan service. Especially when a lot of anime throw it in for underage characters. It's like, and again, I'll acknowledge One Piece does this, really, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's also more of a thing in just Japan, I guess, from what I've heard. It's not as weird and creepy from a cultural standpoint there. There's some things they definitely have to work on in that regard. Um, but here in America, that kind of shit is fucking creepy, and I really don't like it. Like I said, One Piece does it too. There are underage characters who are sexualized, like Rebecca in Dressrosa, or Carrot even. And it's just it's wild to me. That's never like how you do it. And that's also a big point of positivity with this series too. It's like Fuko is an adult. Yeah, she's only 18, but she is still an adult. The creator made sure to go with that point. Like, that is brought up multiple times in the series. And that helps too. That helps make the fan service work as well, because it's also not creepy. um but yeah, the action in this episode, the animation, all of that was as good as ever. I haven't really talked about that because it's like I've already talked about that. I like I said though, I really do like the way that Fuko managed to bring Andy back. It is a pretty wild, ballsy move, and I just really like her as a character. Like she's such a normal person thrust into like insanely abnormal situations, but she like kind of rolls with it and ends up like just proving herself every time. She's kind of amazing. And Andy's great too. And I'm wondering how long it's going to take till we find out more about Victor, because it's very clear that it's not happening quite yet. But I'm very excited to learn more about that entire situation, especially since Victor claims he's the original. And I'm wondering if this is then kind of like Weather Report from JoJo Part 6, Stone Ocean, where it's like, oh, he's a good boy and everything because he doesn't have his memories. But if he gets his memories back, that also includes regaining that crazy, psychotic, evil side to him. Which, I mean, he wasn't really evil in JoJo. It's just he was definitely not the best person. And here, there's also the aspect of the different personalities, too. Which also kind of makes me wonder, if it's not like a separate, like, DID related thing, is like Andy, is like Victor, I should say. Let's start with that. Is Victor the just how he's supposed to be? And Andy is sort of like a, not really a split personality, but a softer side to him that's brought on by the fact that he doesn't have memory of past a certain point, I guess. I just really want to know how this works, where this ends up going. Um, Eventually we'll find out, obviously, but uh, I guess we'll just have to wait till something is revealed, whether in this season or a future one or whatever. But for now, I do want to also bring forth some attention to other shows that we are reacting to on the channel. We do 2 series reactions every day of the week, Monday through Friday. On Mondays, we are also doing YouTube reactions, which are mostly just donation rewards that I do. And on Wednesdays, we have been live streaming through Momodora Moonlit Farewell, but we just finished that yesterday. Just haven't changed the banner here yet. And we will be moving on to Spider-Man 2 on the PS5. Though we probably will be like having that be on multiple days of the week, and I just record it on Wednesdays. But I'll know for sure by next Monday. I'll make a video announcing what's going to happen with that. We also do movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. Well, to be fair, I record them during the week. They're just uploaded to the channel on Saturdays and Sundays. And we have various other videos as well, such as AMVs, countdown lists, and so on and so forth, that I just put up whenever I end up getting to them. So, all of that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on this episode down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.